Hello everybody, I'm Nate and welcome to my channel. It's been a busy couple weeks, and so it's been a minute since I've put out a video. I had spring break and we went and traveled out of town a little bit. It was a good time, but we're back and we're doing some reviews. And so I have a review here from the newest release from Shuriken YoYos. So if you're not familiar with Shuriken, they're still a fairly new company. This is their third release, and this is their first bimetal, really a performance-focused yo-yo. This is called the Happo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I tried to look it up. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but we'll get into that, and then, well, let's actually just talk about it, all right? All right, so yeah, Happo, that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. I think that's right. But the name comes from the Shuriken design. So Shuriken, so like ninja stars, right? Like the rudimentary term for that, but Shuriken is, I guess, the technical name of this weaponry. And there's a bunch of different shapes of them, which is kind of cool. I think I talked about that in the very first video from them. And so they've actually, like, just very subtly, very slightly branded on each of their designs the shape of that shuriken. So here, I'll go ahead and get really nice and close here so you can actually see what I'm talking about here. This is the shuriken right here. Let me move my finger. So that's the Happo, again, if I'm pronouncing that right. That's the Happo shuriken design there. Very kind of symmetrical there. Lots of points. Okay, so I'm not sure if that exactly inspired the design. I know that that's obviously their name of their company, and everything's kind of based off of that as far as name, but I don't know if maybe like the actual shape of the shuriken itself like influences the actual design of the yo-yo. I would think it would, but I don't know for sure. I don't have all the design notes here, okay? But like I said in the introduction, this is their first bimetal yo-yo. Stainless steel rings. It is the sort of kind of that has the, you know, the outside, but it kind of loops around a little bit too. It's a nice design as far as the rings. There's these little, like, there's a little cut, like a little canal in the bimetal rings here, and enough that you could probably put some like silicone or paint or something like that in there, that if you wanted to kind of like give some pop of color or something too, it wouldn't really add weight. Not really, not enough that would probably matter, but that's kind of a nice aesthetic look. So it probably takes off, I don't know, probably nearly, not even close to half a gram maybe overall, but it's kind of a cool little design feature. Just kind of gives it a different look. The performance focus of this yo-yo is quite extreme. Like, I mean, it's a wider yo-yo, right? And so very much a V shape, but like kind of step down, and it angles in ever so slightly, and the gaps are very performance focused. I do appreciate that it looks like it's been masked off, and so you can see some glossy shineriness, yeah. Some shiny parts of the gap there, and so you're going to get, you know, it not biting into your string and snapping your string. So it's not a very aggressive blast. I don't think you would probably have had too much a problem with that, but the edge there, it's just nice. It's a nice little subtle thing to kind of think about those details. The hub design in there, it's got a kind of a domed over hub. So a longer-ish axle, right, which is nice too. Again, overall, nice. I like the design of it. Very much a performance-focused yo-yo. I mean, it's very clear that that's what they're aiming for. And so it should do really well as far as everything you want for performance, as far as stability and that, I mean, the gap especially. That gap is going to be huge, and it's going to do really well for those sort of more advanced performance-focused type of tricks, or just for fun. All right, let's go actually play it, see how it plays on the string. All right, so welcome back to the on the string section with the Happo by Shuriken. And you know, this yo-yo really reminds me of something like that you could maybe find in 2.6 catalog. Like, I'm not saying it looks exactly like any particular one of theirs, but I just feel like this would be a yo-yo they would have created, and I miss you, Joey. So as I said in the hand section, this is very much a performance-focused yo-yo. This is their first bimetal, so there's a lot of firsts for Shuriken here. Out of the box, I will say that this yo-yo wasn't very smooth. And I was actually kind of concerned that it might have been a B grade, but I wasn't. Sometimes, you know, I get sent a B grade. Maybe it's for ano. Usually it's for ano. I highly recommend, if you're going to send me a yo-yo, that it's not for vibe, because it's kind of hard to tell how it's going to play, right? It's for ano, no big deal, right? But it was a little bit vibey, and I would say in the B grade. The main culprit was the bearing. And so I ended up actually taking out the bearing instead of cleaning it. I'm sure I could have cleaned it, and switched it out, and actually it's pretty smooth. Not perfect, but I would say it's a 9 out of 10 now as far as smoothness. Now I would say that this design, it's probably going to be a challenge to keep it perfect, all right? So I'm sure there's some dead A grade, like 10 out of 10 smooth ones out there. But I would say that, I mean, the width of this and the design of it, it's going to be a challenge, I would think, from a design point to actually create a perfectly smooth bimetal yo-yo, right? You're going to have to really make sure that that bearing seat is really tight, all right? And this one's not like crazy tight. I've seen some worse that, like, whenever you try to pry off the bearing, you know, and it takes off some of the ano. It didn't do that for this one. So it's, you know, it's kind of a toss-up. I've yet to see a bimetal yo-yo that you can actually just pull out the bearing with your fingers, like it's like a one-drop yo-yo, okay? Anyways, I'm going on a tangent, but all that to say, now it's where I want it to be as far as smoothness, right? I can't feel it on the string. There's a tiny bit of pulse maybe whenever I kind of do a finger grind, or, you know, finger test or whatever, a nail test. No big deal. That's not a big deal for me. So let's go ahead and talk about the general play of this yo-yo. It has a little bit more of a lighter feel than you know, most, you know, I don't know, larger yo-yos in this category. It's not super light, like, where it's like I would kind of say, oh, it's in that nimble category, but it's got a nice light feel to it while still feeling like it has enough power, right? I mean, obviously it's a bimetal yo-yo, so it's going to have a decent amount of spin time, at least it ought to. But it's certainly on the lighter side. It feels a little lighter on the hand, and the width there, you know, it could be kind of uncomfortable on a catch, but this is actually not too bad. It's wide enough that it's pretty nice and comfortable, and that gap's just huge, and so it really compensates well for that as far as the hand feel on a catch. All right, so let's talk about that gap now, since we're talking about that. Pretty decent as far as wraps. Not as good as I thought it would be, but that gap is just huge. Like, so if you're trying to do any kind of tricks where you're landing it on the string like that, Eli hops or anything like that, it's going to be really nice for that. As far as horizontal, it's going to do really well too. And yeah, it's very capable for that. So as far as those sort of performance focused features, it's really good. Rejections are good. It does reject pretty nicely from there. You have that, it's not like a perfect angle in. It has, it's not a high wall by any means, but it has a little bit of a ledge there, right? And so that actually helps with rejections and so on. As far as things like regens, it's not going to be the best at, just because of its shape and so on. Things like grinds, it's really stable, and you can really tell on a finger grind how well that does with stability. So really nice with that. As far as like thumb grinds, stuff like that, it's not really going to do the job. It does okay. It doesn't have an IRG, but it has enough space in there if you really wanted to. It does have that dimple in there, so it kind of like moves around. Yeah, see that right there? It does fine though. You could probably pull off a decently long finger spin. It has enough space in there, so, but it's fine. It'll work just fine for what you want it to. So it has all those features that you want for a performance-focused yo-yo. I would say this is not maybe my favorite thing from Shuriken so far. I actually really liked their last release. It was kind of a nice, very contrasty yo-yo from this one. But overall, they've been putting out some really cool yo-yos, and I really like the vibe of what they're doing here as far as their branding and their naming. It's really unique as far as that. So I'm excited to see that they're kind of venturing out into more performance focus to kind of fill that void, you know, in their catalog, because so far they've kind of had good solid metal, you know, mono metal yo-yos rather, but their last yo-yo certainly was more of a you know, more pocket friendly slimline kind of, you know, ish yo-yo that was just kind of fun, which that's why I kind of like that yo-yo. So this is more biased than anything. But as far as bimetal, I would like to see them do another bimetal in the future and even kind of improve on it just ever so slightly. I think this is a really good debut bimetal yo-yo from them. if that makes sense. I think it's a compliment. It really is. And I think this is a good one. And I think if you like Shuriken, you're gonna really like this yo-yo. And it still matches with their catalog enough, even though it's a bimetal and even though it's performance, it still kind of has a similar flow of thought and design. So that's the Happo from Shuriken YoYos. And until the next one, later.